Here we have Michael Barker, Sony Pictures Classics. Matt Singer and Dana Stevens. Okay, Michael. I have more questions than I had. The first time I saw this film, I thought I had more answers, but today I have more questions. So let's go to the beginning of how you became aware of it first and how you acquired this film and what you saw in it when you...
Well, as I said, I walked in this room with 20 people and I watched it and I felt like I was in her brain. And also, it's about life that we experience every day. It's really complicated, and we make all these decisions, and some of them we're sure about and we're totally wrong, and some of them we're not sure about and we're right. We mean well. We mean to do the best we can. And the ambiguity in the film, this is the 20th time I've seen this film, and every time it's different. Today I saw the film and I was convinced the mother did not do it. And the last 3 times I saw it, I was convinced she did. And Ilker, I wish he was here, he would just love to see it on this big screen. He made it very ambiguous on purpose because he thinks life is like that. How many in here are educators? A lot have careers in education. He wants you to know the complexity of that job. And that kid demanded respect. I have seen the end of that movie where teachers of an older age argue about the end of the movie, saying the kid should not get away with it, or saying, oh no, at the end of the day, it's about children's rights. The other thing I can't get over every time I see it is how good that actress is. She's really fantastic. And also, by the way, that kid is in real life, that actor, that kid, is the son of the tall, the teacher, Mr. Lebenwerder, and he just happened to say, oh, you want to meet my son? And the kid got the role. And how good was that kid, you know? And you know, it's every time I see it, like you said, it just provokes questions. But I think it's like life itself, and it's ambiguous, and the filmmaking is incredible. You know, I always marvel at the last scene, when she looks at him and he looks at her. And what I've realized the last 10 times I saw it, they really like each other. They have a bond, you know? But I don't know if you noticed in that last scene how the focus changed on the person in the front and the person in the back. It went back and forth several times because he didn't want you to side with just one of them. And it's remarkable filmmaking. And the music is really something.
It just broke my heart when he saw the Rubik's Cube and gave it to her to let her know that he knew and he did want the respect.
Well, and it's so beautiful too because the whole movie is about this search for answers, right? And how the comparison between, my wife is a teacher, so this was a very interesting movie for me to, I can't wait to show it to her, and I really want to hear her review is the review I really want to hear. But, you know, all of the talk about solving problems in class and how in math there's these absolutes and zeros and solutions, and what the movie is, what you were just talking about, how in life, wouldn't it be nice if there were easy solutions? And so when we arrive at the end of the movie and he can solve a Rubik's Cube, but we're, as you're saying, you know, like every time you watch it, you have a different solution or answer for who took the money or did the mother take the money. And so the juxtaposition of the solved Rubik's Cube and the unsolved Rubik's Cube of the movie around it, I thought was just a sensational finale to the film as well.
Dana, what did you think? You saw it for the first time.
Yeah, I just saw it for the first time, so I'm still processing, putting it together. I know that I read some review of this movie back when it was premiering at festivals and so forth, or maybe just a kind of a festival reaction to the movie, because I really didn't know anything about the story at all. That it would make an interesting double feature with Election, Alexander Payne's Election. Even though they're so dissimilar, they both, it's not a satire, right? It's set in a middle school, not a high school, which is important, I think. But they both have this quality of being a microcosm of the larger political world inside of a school. And one way that I think this establishes that so well is with the claustrophobia, that we never leave the school. We know nothing about her personal life or anyone's home life, right? Every single moment takes place in the walls of that
And
school.
he chose that square aspect ratio for that reason, I
To
think.
box it in,
Yeah.
right? But about the middle school, and one more point about that is just that we see so many high school movies. It's such a genre unto itself. But there aren't that many movies set in middle school, this strange in-between age that, you know, nobody's happy in middle school, right? It's the most sort of miserable time of early adolescence. But it's a smart way to think about education on film, because the kids still seem like children. You know, maybe some of the older ones who are editing the paper start to seem like teenagers, but the ones in her classroom are really kids. You know, so all the power games that are taking place have a different valence than they would if they were teenagers who were being played by actors who are almost adults.
Those student journalists reminded me of some journalists I've seen on Fox News and CNN.
So I spoke with some educators in America about that film. Some of them were, I was asking how accurate were some of the rules or laws. Would they have been allowed, for instance, to call in, to call in the students to have them empty their pockets, or would they have been able to, well, just ask some of the people here, I don't know, some of you are from different states, some are from Illinois, would you have been able to call in the students and ask them to empty their pockets just on a whim like that here? Yes. Oh, you can? Administrators can.
You know, the idea of this movie came from Ilker and a classmate of his in junior high school and high school. And they got together and started to reminisce. And I think all the stories in this movie come from memories they remember of incidents exactly like this. Now, he's like 40 years old, so that's easily a long time ago, but these incidents did happen in their childhood at that school.
It also reminded me a little bit of something that Mikul Haneke did in his film, where you saw sort of the precursor to some things in, I'm just going to say Nazi Germany, but you saw some things like little step-by-step asking the kids to denounce each other, or you don't have to say anything, but just nod, or if I point with a pen, and starting creating that suspicion amongst classmates, and just things that you know can escalate, and how they can, where they can go in society to a really bad end.
I think Michael Haneke was one of the directors that inspired him. Have you
Leonie
seen the
Benesch
movie?
is in The White Ribbon, isn't she?
Yes. Have you seen The White Ribbon? Leonie was 17 when she was the young girl in The White Ribbon.
Oh.
That was, I think, her first movie.
But to your, what Chaz, what you're saying, it's making me think. Again, being married to a teacher who teaches just about this age, mostly 4th and 5th, so just below this. One thing my wife talks about when she's talking about teaching is that she's never that concerned with obviously everyone cares about grades and tests and homework, but what she always talks about to me is the community and how important that is. And I thought that that's why I think she's going to love this movie, because it shows how she's not a bad teacher. It's that like, and you see how she has this community at the beginning when they're clapping and doing all those things that my wife definitely does. But it's just like one small, one little thing can escalate and spiral out of control. And when you lose that community and we're all working together, what you see is probably my wife's worst nightmare, is what you're seeing there. But that was, I thought was so interesting about it, was that, and like you said before the film started, that we think she made the right, she's trying to do the right thing, and we think she made the right decision, and then we see what happens from there. Right before we came out, someone bumped into me on the way back into the theater and went, "I'm so stressed out." And I was like, yes, I know that's exactly how I feel. I know. Because that is how you feel.
I noticed the things for the first time, she's in that room with all the adults, and you just see her look around like, all of us are freaking idiots. We don't know what we're doing, and that's what's so interesting to me, the difference between the adults, and then the kids' culture, And also, you have to be, I told Ilker, I was so amazed. He literally, he made sure every one of those kids had a character and a backstory. Even if we don't know what it is, we really feel each of them are individuals in and of themselves that have, real definite personalities, which is, I think, key to the success of those scenes,
And we're so used to seeing teacher movies where the teacher's either an inspirational Dead Poets Society kind of, figure that changes the kids' lives for the better, or, there's something, the teacher has some kind of secret that's going to be revealed. Or even last year, there was this Turkish film about dry grasses that was about a teacher with secrets. Great movie. But like you say, this movie is a completely different view of education. I mean, to me, it was a critique not of any individual person at that school, but of the entire educational system, of the school as prison. I mean, there's so much in there right up to the end with the kid getting carted out about the school itself, even though it seems so progressive and, everything's being run according to these touchy-feely kind of rules, that it's kind of a system of surveillance and control.
There's even the shot after, I think, the student says to the teacher, you'll be sorry. He threatens her, and he walks out, and he starts kind of marshaling his forces with the other students, and she's watching from the window, and there's the vertical blinds, and it almost looks like the bars of a jail cell. To your, so when you're saying it reminded you of that, that was exactly how my mind was thinking, and the vertical or the boxier frame that you were talking about, I thought perfectly worked into that. I almost felt sometimes when I was watching it like my mind was playing tricks on me, and it felt like the frame was getting narrower, because when you get more and more stressed out and claustrophobic and trapped in that environment, it is unnerving.
And it did make me think about the gap in life between 0.999 and 1, and there is a way that they equal the same, and there's a difference between a proof and in mathematics, and in life, about some things that we think we are so certain about, like you couldn't convince that teacher. She really did want only the best for those kids. I think that's the way she came across to me. And sometimes in life that's like that. We have people who want only the best. Their methods may not be always right for a certain situation. Okay, now I'm thinking about politics, because I'm thinking about some people we don't want to lose, and I'm not going to go there with that, but that's what it's making me think about now, and the uncertainty with which, when all those parents were willing to accuse, they heard something they didn't know, and it also makes me think about transparency. How much do you tell when there's an active investigation going on? Or is it better to just be transparent? But then there are some things that the children don't need to know, or I don't know. I don't know. It's just has me, this time it made me think a lot differently than it did the first time I saw it. So I don't know.
One of the things
And I just want the microphones to get ready because we are going to go to the audience for this one with some questions.
I was going to say something that really touched me at the end again is that when he looks at her, it's like he's saying, "You're okay. You're the only one that hasn't given up on me. You're the only one." You know? That's really something.
We have microphones going and questions.
Hi. Let me preface by saying I'm an engineer. I think logically, not emotionally. I'm not a film expert. So my comments are coming from that source. I saw the film as this. At the beginning, it was made very clear that the woman stole the money. No doubt about it. And then it evolved into what are they going to do about it? And if you could parallel it with our current political thing, there was a group that didn't care if she stole the money. They only cared that someone was surveilling people, had nothing to do with this money, and now they focused on you can't do the surveillance, forgetting totally about the crime, and it evolved into a battle of you can't do this and this is wrong that surpassed the original little or big theft.
That's really a valid interpretation of the movie, for sure.
I would be kind of curious, like, by a show of hands, like, who thinks that the mother took the money? Wow.
Wow, okay.
Interesting.
I thought she didn't take it.
I change with every viewing.
I don't think there's a right or wrong. I just love to, like, for a movie like this, I always like to know. Yeah, that was not as divided an answer as I thought there might be, actually.
We have a question from the balcony in the center.
Balcony center.
Hi. I don't know if any of you saw the movie Scarborough at Toronto Film Festival. This film reminded me a lot of that film. If you haven't seen it, you must. It's about an after-school program at a community center, and rather than an actual teaching thing. But the reason it made me think of that was, I think the thing that struck me most is that as well-intentioned as a teacher or a mentor or anybody who deals with children can be, or even a parent, there's a certain point where there's really nothing you can do. You can't make everything better. Frequently you can make things worse, but it's that despair of, really, really wanting to make things better, and you just can't. And I saw that so much in this woman. But yeah, that really struck me in that, and I don't know if you had that same impression, or, yeah.
I mean, I certainly did, watching it. I thought what you just said was so perfectly put, actually. And that was one of the things I was thinking when I was watching it was, yeah, that she's not a bad teacher, and she absolutely is. She keeps trying to do the right thing, and it keeps getting her into deeper and deeper problems. And is this being recorded? My wife will be so pleased that I talked about her so much, if she sees this. But, my wife talks about this kind of stuff all the time, and that you can try, and then there's some times where, like exactly what you said, it's like the thing you're doing to try to improve things doesn't help, and it only makes things worse. That may not My wife would never make anything worse, obviously, but just the culture of a school and things she witnesses and things like that. It's just, yeah, exactly what you said. I thought was so perfectly put.
I have another question on House Right.
Hi, thank you. I'm just shocked to hear that there's any doubt in your mind that the mother took the money. Because I thought one of the points was she did it. What does the teacher do with that fact? Do you overlook it? Do you go to the police? How do you handle this truth that's inconvenient? So I'm curious if you could tell me what I'm missing. Where is there any room for ambiguity?
I agree with you. I thought she took it. There was not any doubt in my mind on watching it, but I've only seen it this first time. And here you've seen it 20 times and you still don't know.
No, you know,
Well, what about the other people who were wearing blouses like that? I mean, she wasn't the only person who had a blouse like that.
I am Spartacus.
okay, here's the thing about that scene, the blouse scene. It's like a figment of her imagination the last several times that I saw it. You know, the thing is about most of the times I see it, I think she's totally guilty. And I buy that interpretation. But, like today, I really watched that actress who played that part. She was really convincing. And then I looked at that video of the shirt, and you go, did they really show that her taking that wallet or not? You know, and you go, wait a minute, she's really convincing. And man, that kid is convincing. Maybe there's ambiguity there. I mean, I think most people do think she did it, but I felt the ambiguity today. I felt the ambiguity today of it, you know.
So again, it's about the difference between 1 and .999, right? There's still that little infinitesimal point.
But here's what you can't forget, and this is the Ilker's talent. It's an entertainment. It's like a Hitchcock movie. Did he do it? Did he not do it? You know, it's shot and cut as if it's and it works as an entertainment. You're riveted. Did she not? You know, and I think that makes it a remarkable thing, that it can also be an entertainment. And I'm convinced that's the kind of movie that really stands the test of time, because people see it and they really love it. And they love it on the small screen and on the big screen.
Okay, next question, stage right, mid-house.
This is my second time seeing this movie. I watched it back in December, and I grew up in a family, basically extended family, or teachers, whatnot, and I'm someone who's been surrounded by school districts, and facing the issue of the teacher's lounge, I come to realize that the writing is strong in the sense of confidentiality, but then also there's that question that thrives throughout the film, like, who does the outcome impact? But then it's clear that it's impacting almost every aspect, but then in the end, the conclusion kind of remains unclear, but it does prove that in the end, that there's a form of consequence, especially in this setting, and it's really well written in that context.
Thank you.
You know, the last few shots where you just see the classroom, the gym, the teacher's lounge, and you see them with nobody in them. There's papers in the teacher's lounge, there's the basketball hoop in the classroom, in the gym, and in the classroom there's just the desks. And what you think about is it's really about the people and how they engage each other. Those rooms that are empty, they're just empty rooms, you know? That's the first time that really hit me that way as well. It's when we get together in a community, shit happens, you know? And things happen. Volatile things happen.
I was going to say that, and also that, you know, the way that the groups in this school are siloed off perhaps has a big part of it, that it's the teacher's lounge and only the teachers are allowed in there. And then there's the, you know, like the newspaper office where the kids are hanging out, and this sense of distrust is kind of bred by the fact that they're kept separate. and not together, you know, and that they're on either side, when the other group is not present, the group that's there is talking about, oh, they did, the students did it, oh, the teachers, they're scheming against us, you know, and you see how keeping the people apart in those spaces is a big part of the problem.
It
Those
also made me
newspaper
think
kids.
about peer pressure because, and how you have to, you know, you have to, all of the teachers wanted her, first of all, they thought she was set herself a little apart from them, and they wanted her to be part of the team, but she felt that what she was doing was something in the best interest of the students, and yet when she gets in trouble, she really does need the team to surround her with the newspaper, and but it still took a lot for her to go her own way when she thought what she was doing was right, despite the fact that all the other teachers were kind of sneering at her for maybe coming across more superior or something in their estimation.
Michael, I have a question for you about the ending. You said that it was controversial and some people don't like the ending and we would see what we thought of it. What aspect of it do people object to?
They object that it doesn't end with a nice bow, you know? It's like, it's not what people come to expect from a movie like that, like you mentioned, Dead Poets Society, whatever. And this idea of this kid being triumphant, well, what's he really being triumphant about? Well, he's got respect, but they're actually carrying him out
On a throne,
on the school. There are some people that really dislike that because they think that they're giving too much for the child. That child maybe needs more discipline. Why the movie
but
becomes
isn't it cops that are taking him out? That's not a very pleasant throne to be carried out on.
No, but he's triumphant. And the thing is, Europe is different from here. In Europe, the movie, and you read the critics in Europe, they say the movie becomes a movie about children's rights, and he prevails. And that's what the movie's about. They don't even talk about the stuff we're talking about, you know. They say that it starts off as one thing, it becomes this. And so there's a little controversy in how to interpret the end of that. And especially amongst educators, how do they feel about that, you know?
How many territories do you have for this movie, and how well did it?
I have a lot of them. You know, the thing is, the film is a big success in many countries. Italy, it's just opening in the UK, I think, this week. Scandinavia, Australia. The movie plays well everywhere. Because what's noted everywhere is this is a microcosm of countries' governments, you know, and institutions. Could be a hospital, it could be, you know, any kind of institution, and then the school issues as well. So every country takes a different look at it. I think the smaller countries really look at it like it's a small country government and how they react, the people participate and react to each other, the give and take.
Congratulations on the Academy Award nomination for it.
Well, we congratulate Ilker, you know, I mean, he's a wonderful filmmaker. He's making his next film, and Leonie's doing a lot of TV shows. She speaks English perfectly, so we expect to see her a lot. And I also want to thank you all for this evening, especially not just on my behalf, but on behalf of, I want to say one thing, on behalf of my partner, Tom Bernard, and Sony Classics, because when you said all those things and did all those things, it's about him and them as well.
A question from the balcony to your right.
Okay, thank you. So maybe one last question. It's not really a question, but I really think it's not an open ending because Ali's result of he was wrongly accused by by stealing indicates what Oscar, the boy, what would happen to him after the whole series of issues he faced. It's like no matter how much, how the scandal or the accusation happened to her mom ends, it will still affect him along his way in the school.
We have time for 2 more.
Yep, I have a question to your right, towards the back of the house.
It's Doug Williams. Yeah, this was a very interesting film. I think there were a lot of things that we didn't have information on, and it left it open. I think about education when I'm watching like Abbott Elementary, one of my favorite shows. But then I'm also thinking about what would Joe Clark do? You know, who was in charge here? I mean, where was the authority, people, checks and balances? It was sort of these individual camps, and the kids got as much attention as the adults. And I'm like, what is going on here? It's chaotic. Somebody's got to take charge and investigate, and it was a lot left open. I mean, maybe that was the point, but I didn't have enough information to figure out who did it, you know, or who was going to do something to bring some resolve to the problem. It just kept spiraling out of control because they kept saying, well, we'll kind of figure it out. We'll wait. And no, we got to teach class. We got to get ready for the exams. You know, what was going on? I think it needed more.
Well, I think we live in a chaotic world that's like that. And yes, I think it would have been great if Joe Clark was in this movie. He would have told her exactly what to do, and she would have been a good student of Joe Clark's, that's for sure.
So one thing I must say, and I felt it this time again, if that film had been made here, that kid would have had a gun in his backpack. I was so glad there was no gun in the you know, as you're waiting, and he comes in and he has hood and he has a backpack and you're waiting and he goes in to reach for something. I thought, thank God it's a Rubik's Cube. So.
You know, it's so interesting you say that. When that film was premiered in Telluride, that was what most people say when they walked out. When they went into the movie, it started, and they were sure a gun was going to come out, and that was what was going to transpire. And it was like a lot of people thought that, and then it didn't happen.
Hi, I have a final question, center front.
Yes. One of the things that's interesting is they're trying to separate the microcosm of the school. It seems like, you know, it is the way the world is, Michael, I agree. And I was also afraid that somebody was going to get really hurt out of the whole thing, and I guess that was I was relieved at that. But, I mean, did the movie really was based on this ambiguity of all of what was going on, not the setting? The setting could have been anything. This was it just that the setting was the school, it wasn't about children, it was just about people? Is that
I think that's true, but I also think Ilker, and I forgot his screenwriter friend, who went through these junior high school and high school experience, I think they talked amongst themselves about all these ambiguous situations. Did this teacher make the right choice? Did this teacher, you know, what happened? How did we all turn out afterwards? So I think it came from that.
Michael, thank you so much once again.
And a big thank you to Ilker. And I hope when you send me this picture that happened right before, I can send it to Ilker and Leone so they can see how many people were here to see their film.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow morning, and I'll let you know how to get the photo picture. Thank you, Matt Singer.
Thank you. Thank you,
Dana.
everyone who's stayed.
Oh yes. Of the people who bought the book today, I'm choosing one. It's in the giveaway. I'm not wearing my glasses. Will you read the name, please?
Sure. The name is Jason Greenlee.
Woo!